Y'all ready? Let's just jump in, man. Anybody need to get coffee or anything? We'll wait on you. Everybody be staring at you, but we'll wait. Today, we're going to continue in the series we started called The Story of Us. And if you haven't been here, well, you just missed it. It was great. And the further the past it gets, the better it was. So, if you miss it, then it's always going to be just the greatest thing. You can never make it up. So, miss out. Who did we talk about last time? Noah fish, right? We talked about Noah. Today, we're going to go on. Noah had 3 sons. I remember Noah's sons. Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Okay, Shem kind of is where the line follows out in Genesis. And so his lineage comes through, and we follow him until his generation comes up to a guy named Abraham. Now, Abraham is important. Like, you know why? Why? I don't believe, man. We're going to have to start over. Abraham's important in the Bible, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just wondering. Like, Abraham, I got a spider web on me. That's cool. Abraham is important in the Bible, and we agree on that, so we'll move on. Abraham is important because without him there would be no song, Father Abraham. It goes on forever and ever. And if you didn't go to church when you were a kid and you missed out on Father Abraham, then no, I didn't. Because it's still going. It's still going on. No, Abraham is the patriarch of the people of God, the Hebrew nation, the Jewish nation, and so Abraham is important in our story. And so as we begin the story, Abraham finds himself. Abraham and his family are in Ur, and this is I don't know how familiar you guys are, but like if you're familiar at all, and you should be. I'm not going to shame you or call you out if you're not, but you should be familiar with the Persian Gulf and kind of modern day Middle East. And if you're not, shame on you. Like you should find out these things. Like the Persian Gulf, just on the north side of the Persian Gulf, where the Euphrates River dumps in, is where the land of Ur was. That's where Abraham and his people come from. So as we read this, we can put it into a place that we understand kind of the region and how this place looks. So we'll pick up in Genesis chapter 12, and we're just going to read a real short bit here today, because what I want to show you, what I think our story is in this, is something that we need to spend some time on. We need to look at our story as much as we look at Abraham's story today. So in Genesis 12:1, it says this: Now the Lord said to Abram, this was his name before it got changed to the. We'll get to that. We'll get to the name change. But everybody knows him as Abraham. And you know it's Abram. Okay? Now, the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and from your kindred and from your father's house to the land I will show you, and I will make you a great nation. need to go further. We've got the material. So Abram leaves the land of Ur, which is on the Persian Gulf on the northwest side, just on the west side of the Euphrates River. So God sends him and shows him a land that he's sending him to, the land of Canaan, which we find out later is the land of the promise. Okay? So God takes Abram out of Ur, nasty Ur. Think of Mississippi Delta in the desert. I mean, glamorous, I know. It takes him out of Ur, and this travel, and I try to put myself in these stories all the time because, like, this is horrible, right? He's traveling up the Euphrates River. He travels up the Euphrates River. You've probably seen the new Syria. Y'all heard of that? Right. All right. Next week, we're going to go through the news, and then we're going to continue. So he travels up the Euphrates River from the Persian Gulf. He travels up the Euphrates River through Syria all the way into what is now today modern-day Turkey. Then he takes a left. Okay, then he goes down, he goes back through Syria, and then he goes into, what is that? The little one there on the Lebanon? Is that right? We all know, I tell you anything. Yeah, it's Lebanon. And he goes down and comes through there, and he comes into what is modern day Israel, and comes on down into Israel by the Mediterranean Sea, and this is the land flowing with milk and honey. So if you kind of are familiar with the area, man, this is a major undertaking to travel, right? And this is some really beautiful terrain he's on. And so like you've probably seen some at least pictures of the war in Iraq. You've maybe seen some pictures of Syria, the things that are going on in Syria right now. So this is where he's traveling, and they're not in a Humvee. So like he's walking. Now, I would say, and this is just me because this is my story, you can do whatever you want with your story, but I would say in my story that this would be very uncomfortable. Anybody agree?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not walking through the desert of Iraq. I'm not walking through Syria twice. And I'm sure I'm walking all the way through Israel, all the way down. Get this. He walks all the way back down to Egypt. And I'm looking thinking, man, I could have shown you a shortcut. I think it would have saved you probably years of travel. But think of all the steps he got on his Fitbit. See, you just have to justify it, right? Because, like, why take the shortcut when you can walk through Syria twice and back down to Israel? So this is a very, very uncomfortable situation for him. Not only that is that he's left his family. He's left. Now, it's not like leaving your family today because family meant something. Family meant food, help, protection. Like your family was your army. Your family was your crop workers, your shepherds, your food source. Your family was everything. And he has to go. He takes his wife and his nephew. And his nephew's a numbskull. You can read the story. But like, this guy's not an asset. Like, it's just more to take care of. And I know you don't have any experience with that in your families. And if you don't, then you're the one. You know, you're like, you may be the lot of your family. That's not a comment. So he takes Lot with him and he goes. Now, why does he do this? You know, this sounds just crazy. And I'm sure he had traveled away from her maybe, how far can you go in half a day? Maybe 20 miles outside of there. Probably not that far moving with who he was with. And so he moves just a little bit around the area. And he's probably seeing that this is really not the most beautiful place on earth. Like, this is not what you would want to say, let's just head out here. Anybody ever been to, like, Yuma, Arizona, or 29 Palms, California? When I was in the Marines, man, we went to 29 Palms a lot. And they send you there because, well, they don't like you. And they send you out, and it's just horrible. It's the worst place on earth. It's in the middle of nothing, just desert, and dirt, and rocks, and cactus, and wind, and heat, wind, heat, wind. It's just terrible. And this is what it's like up there now. It's hot, man, real hot. And this dude is like old, real old, like 40. Like 75, man. Hot. Old. And he has safety, he has security, he has family, he has food, he has provision, he has all these things, but he leaves. And I ask myself, why would anybody do that? But I think we find the clue here early in the story, like in the first part, in verse 2, it says, now Abram, that's in chapter 13. I'm way ahead. You don't know what that is there. And God said to him, I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. See, Abram had a relationship with God. He actually saw God as the supreme creator of all things. He saw him as the source of life and the source of security and the source of blessing. Now, what does that mean to us, the blessing of God? I don't know that we even know that. I don't know that we get the answer to that question, but we assume that the blessing is good. Right? Do you guys agree with me? Y'all with me? Yeah. Well, okay, you want to be blessed or cursed. Okay, so we say that the blessing is good, right? So we want the blessing. And so Abram follows God's leading or telling him where to go because of this blessing. And I think today that we're not really any different. I'm not any different. I want blessing. How many of you guys want to be blessed? Like the blessing is better than the curse, right? We want to be blessed. And if we don't believe in God or don't trust God or don't think God is even, relevant to the blessing or the curse or whatever, then we're going to work really hard and do a lot to bless ourselves. In any case, we're all seeking out the blessing. And so Abram trusted God, he believed God, and he sought after the will of God, the blessing of God. And God says to him, God makes a promise to him that I will make your name great. I will bless you, and I will make your name great. You will become a nation. Now, when I'm reading this, man, I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. But what does this mean that he's going to be made a nation? That he's going to be blessed? That means, because it was real important at that time to have offspring, right? To be the patriarch of a family, to have offspring and to multiply. Because remember the flood. The earth, still kind of scarce with people. And so they're really big about big families. Plus, more family, more protection, more workers, more of everything, right? Just better. So it's good to have offspring, but it's also good to have a good name. A name meant something. The reputation, the name, to have a good reputation. God's like, to bless you. I'm going to make your name great. And so I want you to notice, I want to talk about two things. Okay? Two things. We can remember two things, right? Okay. The first thing is this, that God takes Abram out of his comfort zone. Now, if you can't connect the dots, I'm just going to tell you just straight out. The blessing of God will never, ever be found in your comfort zone. The blessing of God will not be found where you're comfortable. I find in my own life that I rarely trust God when everything's like just going right along perfect. You know, everything's just cruising and I'm comfortable. When we're comfortable, there's rarely a need for God. But when you break both arms, or something crazy like that, you see that I may need some help here. And that's where we find ourselves. When we are called into the blessing of God, we are always called out of our comfort zone. And so I want you to think about your story right now, where you're at in your story, and how comfortable are you? And like, if you're really comfortable in your story, now here's the thing, man, this is what I found about people, is that we can get real comfortable in some really crappy situations. Like, really comfortable. We can get really comfortable in our brokenness and really comfortable in our addictions and really comfortable in just letting life happen to us. So comfort isn't necessarily like, oh, I've got all the money I never need or whatever. I mean, it's not that. It's like, I'm comfortable because I can handle what I've got. Like, I can handle this addiction. I can handle this poverty. I can handle this fame. I can handle this glory. I can handle this money. I can handle my circumstance. I got it. And so, when God is calling us to the blessing, He's usually calling us from our comfort zone. He's usually calling us away from our security. Like Abram's family. Have enough people to fight off people who want to kill you. Have enough family around to provide food. So God calls us out of our comfort zone into the blessing. And we have to get that. We have to understand that. And so our goal shouldn't be to like never get comfortable, because that's how to get the cart before the horse. But our goal should be to hear God's calling out to the blessing. I think God calls us to, and I'm not going to say He never calls us from, like, just, I see a lot of people like, it's got to be God, I got to get out of here. Like, I've got to get away from this. Well, that's usually not God, that's usually me. And I can speak on my behalf because I know me pretty well. And a lot of times, I just want to get out, but that's really not God. God usually calls to something. Now, I've been in a lot of situations, especially recently, where I just wanted to get out. But I've been around this once or twice. Like, I've got some miles on me. And what I've discovered in putting those miles on me is that God generally, well, in my case, He calls me to, not from. He don't call me to get out. He calls me to leave and go to. And there's a big difference between the two. There's a big difference between running from and running to. And we need to learn to run to the blessing of God. The second thing I want you to get in this story is the so that. Because we want the blessing of God, right? Maybe not. Probably not. Probably just won't happen here. We want the blessing of God. We want the blessing of something. We just want to live a blessed life, period, right? Because we have in our mind that blessing is good. Like, a blessing needs to be extremely abundantly, overly happy. So we're all kind of in that business. And if you can create happiness, then you'll be rich as Disney. Because everybody wants some. And they'll pay whatever they got to do to get it. So this idea of a blessing, we can call it something that we can understand as we're pursuing a happy life. Okay? But a lot of times we don't understand that what we're really asking for, because we want happiness, but we want happiness on our terms. We want to do this, and this, and be happy. But God didn't say that to Abram. He didn't call, I'm going to call you out away from your family, so Abram's like, all right, let's go. And I'm calling you to be happy. And Abram's like, yeah, let's do this. But there's a purpose behind it. There's a so that. And what we got to start to see is when we're reading the story, we see the so that. Those things are important, right? So what is it so that? He says this. He says, and I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. Maybe we're pursuing happiness, maybe we're pursuing all these things in our life, so that we will be happy. And what we find is there is a law of God at work that cannot be changed. And that law is this. You can never have enough to be happy. You can never receive enough to be happy. You can never, you never contain enough to be happy. Like we want more. And as we fill up, and as we pack in, as we go and pursue and all these things, it just never satisfies. Because the law at work here is that it is not a blessing as we receive it. It is a blessing as it passes through. The blessing is only realized when it goes out. And I talk about this all the time, but I don't think you get this. The idea, we think money will make us happy, but I could give you pallets of money and it'd never make me happy if it just had to stay on the pallet, right? Because when does money have value? When you let go of it, right? When you pass it on. That's the only time money ever has any value. Money sitting, doing nothing, has zero value. You guys realize it's like green paper. It's pallets of green paper. It means nothing. Like you can make your own, you can stack up whatever you want to and say, I'm rich. 90% of everything you take in. But I need you to learn something by it. So return a tenth, a tithe of that to me, so that the blessing will be on the other portion. So your options are this. I can have 100% of everything I ever come in contact with, and it can be cursed. Or I can have 90% of everything that comes into me, and it can be blessed. Now, which do you want? Do you want 100% of everything cursed, or do you want 90% of everything blessed? And we don't get this. Now, I'm not here telling you, you better start tithing, you need to tithe this, and you're going to go to hell if you don't. That's not the way it works. Look, I'm blessed. Here's what I found. The more that I give, the more generous I am, the more God blesses. There's this actual place where God challenges. He says, you can't outgive me. I challenge you. You try to outgive me. You're trying to outgive somebody who has everything to give. You cannot outgive God. But we're not generous people, are we? Are we? I mean, we live in the most blessed nation on the planet. If you travel go to the Middle East. Go to the Persian Gulf. Go to Syria. Go to Mexico. Go into the city. If you want to see, we're blessed. I mean, really, we're blessed. Like, we're sitting here, having seats in air conditioning. It's pretty nice. It's really nice. We're blessed. But we're blessed to be a blessing. We're not blessed, and this is the part we forget, where we get real stingy and real greedy. We're not a generous people. God is calling us to the blessing. He is calling us out of our comfort zone into His blessing so that we can pass His blessing on. And this is our story. And this is how it all works. This is how real life works. If you want to know why people are the way they are and why people are happy, I guarantee you that the happiest people on the planet are the most generous people on the planet. And it doesn't have to do with what you have, but what you're able to give. Some of us have been blessed with more time than money. But we kind of left at that, but then, isn't time really a blessing? What do you got to do? I got nothing to do. I'm blessed. And then you don't have any time, you're jealous of other people's time blessing, right? It's like, I'm so busy all the time. Let me ask you something. How generous are you with your time? Is your time about you getting more productive? About you getting more done? You accomplishing more? You building more of your kingdom? I mean, are we really trying to hold on to that blessing of time? And then it's funny, man, how that blessing can be at the same time a curse. I mean, we could go as far to say is that the blessing is a curse until it's given. Man, we start to figure this thing out in life. We start to see that, wow, this is all a blessing, but we got to remember the so that. The so that. The so that is way more important than the first part. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to be a nation, right? It'd be great to be a king. It'd be great to be famous. It'd be great to have your name known, your name to be great among men. That's all good, fine, and wonderful, but there's nothing in that if we don't get the so that. Why? Why have you been given what you've been given? story about a guy who trusts God so much that he leaves everything he's called away from comfort for thousands of miles of walking. And what happens to him is he starts to acquire and accumulate more than he can even give. So much that it starts to be a problem, and him and his nephew have to separate. I mean, this is what's really, they had too much blessing. He would look at Noah and say, Noah was blessed with a rain shower. I mean, that's the type of blessing Abraham got. You get that, right? That God uses that analogy when he talks about the tithe. He says, as the tithe is, you'll be blessed in your finances. Like that kind of flood, that rain that turns into too much. This is what happened to Abraham. The blessing was more than he could. They had to split up. They couldn't even stay in the same location because the blessing was too much. Do we want that kind of blessing? Can we handle that kind of blessing? See, what I keep going back to is something Jesus said when he was teaching about the same thing. It's funny the consistency of the teachings of God and his mouthpieces, his messengers. And Jesus says that if you can't be trusted with the small things, then even the small things that you have, the blessing, the little blessing you have will be taken away and given to someone who can be trusted with it. How many of you guys need a better job? I mean, there are a lot of people need a better job, need better hours, more money, more time at home. But like, we need those things, right? But let us ask you this, man. If you can't be trusted with $100 a week, how are you going to get $1,000? About $1,000 a week, you have to be trusted. It's not true. Ask anybody. It's just not true. Right? Oh, it's easier to tie with you make $1,000 a week. Come on. It's not. It doesn't get easier. Actually, it gets harder when you start looking at, like, I remember being somebody got to fight at church with us. I was like looking at the check sheet. Nowhere. Like, we could be blessing ourselves. I didn't get it, though. I didn't get it. That's why we were blessed. She had to teach me a lot of things. Don't tell her I said that. She had to teach me a lot of things, man, because I look at the bottom line. I'm a realist. Man, you can't give that kind of money away and expect to get by. But we've never been without. And God's always blessed us, and He's always moved forward. And that's because we're faithful with the finances. We're faithful with His call. We're faithful with what He asks us to do. And it's not so that we can be blessed. Now, let me tell you, man, I go through times. She's perfect, but I go through times that I struggle because I forget about the so that. So I start collecting the blessing. I get blessing low. Put on some blessing pounds. I forget. You forget. We all forget. I mean, we lose track. We start loving the blessing so much we forget how we got there. I mean, we didn't get there by collecting the blessing. We got there by always moving forward, by always letting everything that came in pass through. We became stewards. We didn't see our things as ours, or our ministry as ours, or our church as ours. We saw it as something that God had entrusted us with. Our finances are not ours. They're something that God has entrusted us with. Here, Todd, take this amount of money. I'm going to I'm gonna trust you with this amount of my stuff. And I'll see how you do with that. And if you do okay with that, I'll give you more of my stuff because I know I need people that will distribute my stuff. But if everything's going to stop with you, man, I'm going to have to move on to somebody else. And by the way, I'll take that stuff there. I'll take that back too. But I got to give somebody who I can trust. It's the way it works. I can't change it. I'm just telling you it's the way it works. I wish it wasn't that way because I love to be selfish. It's easier. It's safer. It's so much better to be selfish and just take care of me and myself and then just, collect. But it doesn't work that way, and I can't change that. So I never get to be comfortable. I can either have the blessing and be uncomfortable, or I can be comfortable and get just blessing back. Just sit there and blow it out. And this is our story, and this is the story of Abram. God is going to call you to His will out of your comfort zone. What does that look like? I don't know what it looks like for you. I have no idea about what it looks like for me. I'll be honest, and it's terrible. I like control. I like having a little hand in my own life. And I think you probably are like that too. But the truth is, God rarely calls me into something that I can handle. I love when people say, man, I'm in over my head. You just pray God's going to pull me out of the life. That's where we're supposed to be. Like if your life was where you can handle it, why would you need God? You should be in over your head. That's a good thing. You're probably right on the edge of blessing. You may just be so bad away from it. You may be out of the comfort zone and having the blessing come, but instead of being on the ark, the blessing is drowning you. It's better to be on the ark. The ark is to sow that. You gotta let that stuff flow, man. You gotta get it flowing. It'll kill you if you don't. Those two things so much work hand in hand. And when we start to figure that out, our lives are going to change. Your life is going to change. You're going to start walking blessed. And when somebody goes, bless you, you'll say, yes. You're going to be like, bless you, right. Like we'll call them on it. Have a blessed day, RDM. We'll be like bold about it. We understand the blessing. We understand how it works. But when we forget it, we're like, bless me, everybody bless me. We forget. Those two things we have to figure out, and when we do, man, it's going to change. I would love to tell you tithing is easy. Tithing, the reason I keep talking about it is because, man, that's something that just scares me, don't make any sense. I don't get it. I don't, logically, financially, on paper, it doesn't make any sense. But man, I've done it for so long, I'd be terrified not to do it. I know that if I was like, man, I just can't tithe this week, man, I wouldn't walk outside. I'm going to break both legs. Yeah, I'll break both legs and both arms. I'll just be a body walking around. Being rolled around or whatever, It'd be terrible. I'd be scared of what would happen. I'm not saying God's vengeful. It's just it's life. It's the way it works for me. What God talks about is fun. He talks about the devourer. He said it's like putting money in a pocket with holes in it. Have you ever done that? How you just go through it and grab it. Knew I had it on me. Don't do that. Respond to God. Understand the way the world works. You can't change it. You can fight it, but you can't change it. It's just the way things are. And the faster you understand it, and the faster you come into line with it, the better your life is going to get.